Have you ever reached a point where everything looks fine on the outside, but inside, something just isn't right? Where you smile when people are watching, but the moment you're alone, the silence feels louder than anything else? That was me. My name is Daniel, and on a random Tuesday morning, at exactly 9:17, I sent an email that I thought would quietly close one chapter of my life. Instead, it opened something I never saw coming. I didn't always feel this way about my job. When I first got the offer, I remember calling my best friend, Mark. I could barely keep my voice steady. "I got it," I told him. And he shouted so loud, I had to pull the phone away from my ear. It felt like everything I had worked for was finally paying off. Good salary, a clean office, a title that made people nod with approval. Even my mom, Sarah, who rarely showed excitement, hugged me longer than usual that day. "This is stability," she said. "You've done well, and for a while." I believed that too. The first few months were exciting. New environment, new people, new challenges. There was Emily from HR, who always smiled like she knew something you didn't. James from my team, who worked like he had something to prove to the world. And my manager, Mr. Collins. Calm, observant, always watching more than he spoke. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. It started small. A late night here. An extra task there. "Daniel, can you just handle this quickly?" "Daniel, I know it's late, but we need this done." At first, I didn't mind. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to be seen, and honestly, I wanted to be valued, so I said yes every time. But slowly, yes started costing me something. I stopped going out with friends. I missed Mark's birthday. I stopped calling my mom as often. And the worst part, I didn't even notice when it all started slipping, until one night, it was close to midnight. The office was empty except for me and James. The lights felt colder than usual, the silence heavier. I leaned back in my chair, staring at my screen, but I wasn't really seeing anything. James looked over at me and said quietly, "You ever feel like this place is taking something from you?" I laughed it off, but his words stayed, because deep down, I knew exactly what he meant. Weeks passed, then months, and that feeling, it didn't go away. It grew. Every morning, my alarm felt like a warning. Every Sunday night felt like the end of something. I started waking up tired. Even after sleeping, I started losing interest in things I used to enjoy. And one morning, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie, and I froze, because for a brief moment, I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. There was no excitement, no spark, just someone going through the motions. That was the moment something shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a decision forming in the background. I tried to ignore it. I told myself the same things we all say. "Just hold on, it's just a phase. You're lucky to even have this job." But the voice didn't go away. If anything, it got louder, until one morning, I woke up and felt something different. Not fear, not stress, just clarity. I got to work earlier than usual that day. The office was quiet, almost too quiet. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and just stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time. I didn't type anything, because I knew once I started, there was no going back. Then finally, I began, "Dear Mr. Collins." I stopped, deleted it, started again. "Dear Mr. Collins, please accept this email as formal notice of my resignation." Each word felt heavier than the last. My heart was pounding. My palms were slightly sweaty. I paused after almost every sentence, thinking, questioning, doubting. What are you doing? This is risky. What if this is a mistake? I even minimized the email at one point, just to breathe. But then I remembered every late night, every missed moment, every morning I didn't feel like myself, and I kept going. When I finished writing, I didn't send it immediately. I read it once, twice, 3 times, looking for a reason not to send it. But there wasn't one, just fear, and fear isn't always a good reason to stay. So I took a deep breath, hovered over the send button, and clicked. For a second, nothing happened. Then the email disappeared. Sent. Just like that. I leaned back in my chair, waiting to feel something. Relief, freedom, anything. But instead, there was silence, and then slowly, fear crept in. Real, heavy fear. "What have you just done, Daniel?" I refreshed my inbox. Nothing. I refreshed again. Still nothing. Every minute felt stretched. Every small notification sound made my heart jump. Then suddenly, a new email appeared from Mr. Collins. My chest tightened. My fingers hesitated before clicking it. I expected something formal, cold, maybe even disappointed. But the message was short. Daniel, come to my office, now. That was it. No explanation, no tone, just that. My mind started racing. Did I mess up? Was he angry? Was this about something else? The walk to his office felt longer than usual. Each step felt heavier. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I knocked. Come in, he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me, and sat down. He didn't speak immediately, just looked at me. For a few seconds that felt like minutes. Then he smiled, not a polite smile, not a forced one, a real smile, and that confused me even more. I was wondering when you'd finally do this, he said. I blinked, not sure I heard him correctly. What do you mean? I asked. He leaned back in his chair. You're not the same person who joined this company. Daniel, my stomach tightened. I didn't know where this was going. I've been watching you, he continued, the late nights, the way you work, the way you think. There was a pause. Then he added quietly, you've outgrown this place. I didn't respond immediately, because I wasn't expecting that, not at all. I thought he would try to convince me to stay, or question my decision, but instead, he reached into his drawer and pulled out a file. He placed it on the table and slid it toward me. I hesitated before opening it. Inside were documents, printed emails, notes, names, my name, highlighted. My heart started beating faster. What is this? I asked. He looked at me carefully. For the past 3 months, he said slowly, I've been recommending you. My mind went blank. Recommending me. For what? He leaned forward slightly. For something bigger. The room felt smaller, quieter, almost like everything else had disappeared. There's a partner firm, he continued, one we work closely with. They've been looking for someone exactly like you. I stared at him, trying to process what he was saying. And you didn't tell me. I asked. He smiled again. I wanted to see if you'd realize it yourself. My throat felt dry. All this time, I thought I was falling behind, I said quietly. He shook his head. No, you were just in the wrong place for your growth. Then he said something that stayed with me. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away before you're pushed. The room went silent again, but this time, it felt different, lighter. I looked down at the file again, then back at him. So, what happens now? I asked. He folded his hands. That depends on you. There was a pause. Then he added, but if you hadn't sent that email today, none of this would have moved forward. That hit me hard, because in that moment, I realized something. The thing I was most afraid of doing was the exact thing that unlocked everything else. I left his office that day, not with regret, not with fear, but with something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. And as I walked back to my desk, I glanced at my screen, at the empty inbox, at the sent email, and I smiled, because for the first time in months, I felt like I was finally moving forward, not because everything was certain, but because I finally chose myself. So if you're watching this right now, feeling stuck, feeling uncertain, feeling like you're slowly losing yourself in something that no longer fits, maybe this is your moment, not necessarily to quit, not blindly, but to pay attention to that voice inside you, the one that keeps whispering, there's more, because sometimes, the decision that scares you the most is the one that changes everything, and sometimes, all it takes is one click.